Great. So welcome you all to question solving stage and a brief summary about the budget. So I'm going to talk more about budgets. Brief. Budgets or the budgeting. So budgets. Please, we should use the other lecture materials that we have prepared, especially the lecture video, to go through the theory section about budgets. It's very important. You can ask the theory section. So the humble advice is that the budget section, the videos are many over there. Just make sure that you've gone through the very first three ones, and then you'll be fine. Because the first three one contains the theory and some calculation about it. I'll not do most of the theory today. No, today I'm after only two questions. If I do those questions, I'm fine, and I'll give one in advance for you to try. Okay. So when you talk about budget, it's planning expressed in monetary terms. So basic idea about budget. Budget is what you plan to do in monetary terms. So forthcoming next year, what you are going to do in monetary terms, it's what we refer to as what budget. So if let's say 2021, what are my plans? 2021, someone said, okay, we have to um, acquire investments. Okay, our acquired investment 2021. Okay, the same 2021 sounds okay. Media, I'll go to the gym. I'll start the gym very well. Sounds okay. Me 2021, I'll go to school. I'll further the education. Oh yes. Now, this is what you mean by plan. It's a plan, making decisions ahead of time. But as soon as I touch monetary, okay, next year my investment, I should invest maximum of let's say 75,000. That's the maximum investment. Then the gym, it must cost me not less than it should be maximum of 500 Ghana a month. Then education, maybe PhD, right? Okay, so it shouldn't cost me between 50,000 up to 100,000 cities. Yes, that's the average. 50,000 to 100,000 to do the PhD. Now, this is budget. When you attach monetary values to plan, so making decisions ahead of time in monetary terms for forthcoming period, that is what we call budget. There are so many theories, assumptions behind the budget. All of them, I'll leave it in the lecture video. So if you use the lecture video or from the previous ones, you should be fine with the theory. So that will go straight to the preparation of budget. How do you prepare? What are the forms of budget that we have to prepare? Kindly in the video, look out for one, the important or the objective of budget in the video. Two, look out for the ways or forms of budgeting, and then look out for the behavioral aspect of budgeting. All of them have been dealt with. Now let's go straight to the point. Now, how to prepare a budget or the various budgets. So we will go straight and say preparation of budget. Preparation of what? Budget. Now, the budgets that we are going to prepare, there are various stages. Stages, yeah, and don't forget about the stages too. We have the types of budget that we have to prepare. Basically, There are two types of budgets that you may be required to prepare. The first type is called functional budget. Functional budget. I personally call it departmental or unit budget. Departmental budget, departmental or unit budget. As a name, when I mention the department, now you've seen it, right? Yes, this budget is prepared by the various departments. Good. Prepared by the various departments. Each and every department have to submit their budget to be included in the corporate budget. So departmental budget simple means budget prepared by what? The various departments. Perfect. It includes the following. One, sales department have to bring their budget, sales budget. Who again will bring their budget? Let's assume that this is a manufacturing company. Great. This is a manufacturing company. So after they prepare their sales budget, they go to their production budget. Production budget. Then three, they go to material usage budget. Material usage budget. Material usage budget. Then four, they go to material purchases budget. Material purchases budget. Then they start with the labor. Five, labor cost or labor utilization budget. Utilization budget. So as usual, the departments have to prepare their budget and submit it for collation. So sales department prepare their sales budget, production department prepare what? The production budget, material usage to prepare by the production department. Yes, they should tell us the quantum of materials that they need. Then we go to material purchases. After the production budget, now let's assume that you want to sell, let's assume that Target Fruit Juice will produce Sobolo. Next year, we want to sell just 1,000 bottles of Sobolo. So 1,000 bottles, what will be the production? In fact, Sobolo, we can't produce and leave some. We have to produce all the 1,000 at a go. Yes, because if I tell that we have to produce the Sobolo, let's say this year, leave some for next year, who will buy? No, so ferment. So we produce all the 1,000. The same year we sell. Then material usage. If you want to produce 1,000 Sobolo, how many materials do you need in terms of the bisal leaves? And then the spices, the bottles, water, other flavors that we need. So the material usage. That one too, it must come from the production department. And finally, we look at the material purchases. Maybe some of the bottles we do have some there. So we don't need to go and buy all the bottles that we need. No. So we go to material purchases. So this one is by what? The procurement. They will tell us, they will go and then do the purchases. So they'll prepare the material purchases budget. Then labor utilization. It will be prepared by that of the production in connection with what? The HR. HR2 will tell us, the HR2 will tell us the availability. If we need, let's say, 4,000 production hours of labor before we can produce this 1,000, we ask HR, please, do you have next year, 2021, we'll have 4,000 hours available for us? Oh, yes, we do. Good. So that is that. So basically, We can go beyond that. So you can even go to the sixth one, research and development, R&D. They also prepare their budgets and bring it. What again? Distribution, admin, general overheads. So admin to prepare their budget. Then you put them together. Good. Let me ask a question before we go straight to the game. Now, with this budget, let's assume that you are the management accountant and it's asked them to prepare. Which of these they should prepare first? Because we have to know one first. So where are you going to start from? Will it be sales budget or production budget or material or labor or purchases? Which one are you going to start from first? Or you should start from as I've listed it? No, someone can start from where? Material. So I can also start from where? Labor. So to you, which section? Now, to decide which one should come first, depend on what you call principal budget factor. You cannot explain functional budget without that one. Principal budget factor. So let me write it here some more. Principal budget factor. So we cannot talk about functional budget without the principal budget factor. Now, it's a factor that prevents us from achieving our objectives. So if you are a company and then you lack certain material or certain factors, some of the factors serve as challenge. It prevents you from achieving your objective. Any challenge that prevents you or any factor, resource that prevents you from achieving your objective, we call it what? In budgeting process, we have given it a nice name called principal budget factor. It's any factor that prevents organization from achieving their objective. So the rule or the basic principle is this: budget on that one first. So always you have to budget on the principal budget factor. If any organization or the industry and then they are what? Their principal budget factor. Every organization have their principal budget factor. So let's take a look. Now let's take company like manufacturing companies. What would be their big principal budget factor? So if sales is your principal budget factor, budget on sales first, because any other things, all the other budgets will depend on your sales. Because if you know that, if you like, we can only sell 1,000 sobolo. If you don't take that one into consideration and go and produce like 10,000 sobolo, yes, they will tell us that Sigano Ashi. Yes, that's what they will tell us. Because if we can only sell 1,000, the entire 9,000 will waste. And we don't want that. Because your sales is limited to 1,000. Your customers are like, only time when they come, they are buying 1,000 bottles. So that's all. Good. So principal budget factor is very important in budgeting process. Identify the one that plays challenge on your objective. If you know that raw material, you don't have raw material to produce your goods, when you are budgeting, budget on raw material first. Because if you go and say you're going to produce 10,000 and the material that you get can only produce 900, you're just wasting your time. And we don't want that thing to happen. So that's one we say identify what you lack first. So let's quickly go through some of the principal budget factor. If you take a manufacturing company, 1, raw material, 2, labor, 3, machinery, then production equipment, and then finally sales. You also lack sales. If you come to trading company that buys and sell, such a company will have what we call purchases budget. If you see production budget, it's for who? It's for manufacturers, because a manufacturer will produce, will manufacture. But those that do wholesale retail, for them, they don't manufacture. So they will go and buy and sell to another person. So it means that such person will not prepare production, prepare what you call purchases budget, goods purchases. Good. So that's trading company one, they will lack purchases, they will lack sales. Let's take financial institutions, banks. What would be their principal budget factor? What banks or other financial institutions lacks? Number one, customers. Yes. If you like, build the biggest banking hall and your customers are less, they say 5 or 50. It's just the empty. Good. Then also you have to also talk about facility. Yes, banks or financial institutions are particular by their facility systems that they use in there. If your facility or your systems or your equipment or your gadgets can serve 1,000 customers for a whole year, and you are budgeting to serve 20,000 customers, oh, that will not be possible. So budget according to what you have, what your strength can go. Don't do extra because others are doing extra. No, we don't do that in budget. Good. So that is it. So for financial institution, we can also talk about location. Location be a principal budget factor. Wherever you've located yourself, that's why banks normally look for where they can get traffic. Closer to school, market, any area where the traffic will be more there. Uh-huh. So you take all this into consideration. But there's good news. For purpose of your examination, you shouldn't worry. Sales has been identified as the principal budget factor. So for that matter, the examiner will give it to you. The principal budget factor, the examiner have to state it in the question. So all the principal budget factor, the examiner will state it in what? In the question. Yeah, done. Okay. So let's. So that's why we start with the sales. First, you go to production. So it will be in this order. We say we can sell 1,000 bottles of Sobolo. And our Sobolo, we don't like or die, don't like closing stock. We produce everything fresh so that customers can get a good taste. So we have to produce all the 1,000. So that's production. If let's say we like the closing stock, we won't produce 1,000. Then if you want to produce 1,000 bottles of Sobolo, what will be the material? Okay, we need 1,000 bottles, first thing. Second, we need bisa, maybe 5 kg of bisa leaves, and then 10 kg of spices, combination of spices. And then we need 200 liters of water. That is it. That's what we need. Everything depends on the principal budget factor. So if you have identified so that you won't cause trouble for yourself. Good. Then what do you do again? But yeah, so we can pick a nice question to do. Now, we don't only have functional budgets. We only have what? Functional budget. If not mentioned finance, what budget would they prepare? Finance or the accountant? Or they will do the collation. If you take Ghana, for instance, before they get a national budget, they have to go through all the assemblies, districts, agencies, ministries, departments, everything, tertiary institution, all the public institutions, they have to prepare their budget so that the Ministry of Finance will collate it together to form the national budget. That's the same process we do here. Every part of the organization must prepare their own, put it together as a one. So finance people, they'll prepare what you call the cash budget. So we can add a cash budget to it. Cash budget. Finance, and then the can prepare cash budget for us to know the funds that will be available in the budget period. We are done. Now, when we are done with the functional budget, that's not all. So after each department have submitted their budget, then the finance department or the account, they will also collect these budgets into one budget representing the organization. So we call it master budget. Wow, I like the name of master or budget. Master budget. So master budget is simple combining of three items. It is budgeted statement of comprehensive income. No shortcut. I'm begging you. Budgeted statement of comprehensive income. Two, budgeted statement of financial position. Statement of financial position. So you have to prepare a financial statement, a financial budget. So for 2021, what will be the comprehensive income? You prepare it ahead of time. Finally, and cash budget. So this is the master budget. Unfortunately for us, we will look at just the functional budget together with the cash budget. That's all. So we have to look after the functional budget, how to prepare the set of the functional budget, and then we look at the cash budget, and then we add that. That is all. That is all. These ones are not part of our game, so they are just there. Okay. Now, with the statement of budgeted statement of financial position, this one is the same as the comprehensive income that we prepare, the profit and loss statement by the budget version. This one is the financial position that we do, budget version. That's all. And here it is the input of the functional budget. Whatever you get here, that's what I want you to prepare the master budget. Good. Bringing in fact, all the items in the profit and loss will be prepared by a particular department. And that's what we are going to use. So basically, that is it. Great. So let's basically look at this particular question. So let's go to the requirement. So required, prepare a budget for raw material purchases. Washi Limited for the third quarter of 2019. Budget for raw material purchases. Budget for raw material purchases. Budget for raw material purchases. And then briefly explain four main uses of cash budget. You should know the use of cash budgets. Cash budgets. Explain four main uses of cash budgets. So basically for planning purposes, basically for decision making, basically for the liquidity assessment of the entity, and then so forth. Four of them you explain. It will influence the dividend payments and acquisition of capital assets or capital projects. Good. Okay, so let's go straight to the game. Washi Limited plans to produce and sell 32 bottles of hand sanitizer for 2019, distributed equally for each of the 4 quarters. Okay, so the whole year, maybe she wants to sell 32,000, right? But 32,000 bottles distributed equally. So if it is distributed equally, a quarter will be what? That means a quarter she will sell 8,000. So 32 divided by 4. So each quarter is worth 8,000. Don't forget that we are preparing the budget for a third quarter. So we don't need the entire year sales. Now, they've identified the principal budget factor, which is the sale. They say she can produce and sell. So here the production is the same as sales. In some cases, it won't be like that. No. In some cases, production is not the same as sales. Good. So the one that you are going to look at it, production is not the same as sales. The selling price is expected to be 25 cedis per sachet. No, it should be per bottle. Good, it's per bottle. Great, it's per bottle. So the selling price expected to be 25 per bottle. Full stop. One bottle of hand sanitizer requires 4 units of material A, 3 of that of B, and 2 of that of C. Opening inventories of raw materials is as follows. So, and then their prices. Opening inventory and the prices are there. They say the closing inventory of each category of raw material is to be at a level sufficient to meet half of the production requirement for the next year. Half of the production requirement. All hand sanitizer produced are sold out immediately. When they happen like that, that means the company does not keep closing inventory, no closing inventory. Because all hand sanitizers produced are sold. So no closing inventory. So Washi Limited does not stock hand sanitizer. That's a perfect case. Purchase price for all raw material during 2019 are expected to be 25% higher than prices reflected in the open inventory. So if you want to get a price, open inventory for material A, the unit is 25, but the amount is what? 150,000. So what will be the price per unit? So the material price per unit will be the 150 divided by 6. Sorry, divided by 25,000. That will give us 6. Then you increase it by 25%. They increase it by 25%. That is all for all of them. So let's start again. Now, I'll solve this particular question in a section where it will help you to go and solve the one that you are going to do on your own after this. Good. So I'll solve it in that order. Okay. So let's start the game. Even though the examiner said we should look for the material purchases, if you don't know the material English, you can't find the material purchases. And if we don't know, we cannot find them. So first of all, we have to look for the material, the sales, the production, and then we move on. Now, let me ask this question. Let's assume that we want to sell 8,000. This is the sales. How many units do you have to produce in order to meet our target? You have to produce what? The same 8,000. Okay. Now let me add one more statement to it. What if we've already have about 500 bottles of the sanitizer available? So what will be the production unit? Do we still have to produce the 8,000 that we need? No. Now when we have 500 bottles available, now we don't need to produce that one. It's open inventory. So we have to subtract it so that we can now produce what? Produce 7,500 bottles. So that we add the 500 open stock to it so that we can get whatever we want to sell. So it means that open inventory at all cases might be subtracted. It's a point that I want to draw attention to. Then finally, what if after production we keep closing inventory? After production, you have to leave some for next month or next year's sales. So let's say after production we have to keep, let's say, 1,000. So that one you add. So plus what? Closing inventory. Then we want to leave 1,000. So that means we have to produce 8,500. If we produce 8,500, we produce 8,500 plus the 500 that we have there, which should be 9,000. Then we will sell the 8,000 that we want, left with 1,000. So all what I'm trying to say is this. If you want to get the production, less the open inventory and add the closing inventory to the sales. That is all. So let's start again. So anywhere you are finding for the production budget, and don't forget that most of the question to the items will be many. For this question, the products are only one, hand sanitizer. So some rare case or most of the exam question, it will be two or more. Can it be three, four in that order? So here it is A. So let's write boldly on top of it A. We are looking for material purchases budget. So material purchases budget. But we have to go through the steps one after the other because look at the position. Sales will come first before production, before usage, and before the material purchases. So material purchases is the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth point. But he asks it straightforward because this question you can move there straightforward, but we go through the systematic process. First, we need to get our production budget. So production budget. Even though here the examiner said production is equal to sales. So I'll do the illustration for you. In a real typical exam, if production is not equal to sales, what will be the solution? This format is perfect for whether production is equal to sale or not. Get yourself so hand sanitizer. Maybe they want to produce another material again. Hand sanitizer, what does it move with? It's a liquid soap. Liquid soap for hand washing. What again that will it move with? There is COVID product there. For COVID product, then they should also produce wipers or tissue. So let's say tissue. So even if the products are more, you just be listed them like that. That's all. Yeah, it's only one. You start with your sales. Here the sales is per each quarter to be 32,000 divided by what? 4 quarters. So here I'll get what? 8,000. So 8,000 bottles per quarter. We are doing for third quarter. In this question, we don't have other details. So for that of the liquid soap, I got them here for illustration purposes. In a typical or rare case scenario, you will have more than one product. So take note. Then what you do is this. It's a less open inventory of sanitizers. You bring it. In this question we don't have, so it's 0. Then you add closing inventory of sanitizers. Why are you adding closing inventory? Because if you have to leave some for next year, you have to produce them. So in short, all these questions or all these items, they are not in the first place. So here is 0. Here is 0. So therefore, production unit is what? That would be 8,000. Yeah, where there's no open and closing inventory, whatever you produce, you sell them. Production must be equal to sales. That's the implication. And examiner said it. This format, whether there's production or not, you've secured yourself. Okay. Yeah, now with the production budget. So this is how you prepare the production budget. So if there are more products, you continue like that. More products, you continue and fill their column. But in this question, it's only one. Then you go to the next step, material usage budget. So let's move on. So now we know that we need, so let's put bottles here. That's the unit. So that means hand sanitizer in bracket bottles. That's the unit. So we need 8,000 bottles. So 8,000 bottles need to be produced, and that is it. So we are done. But we have not done anything because this question you could have just moved it forward. I'm not even do this. I'm just creating awareness for us to get a full picture of what's supposed to do because this will not be the only question you are going to meet. Or what if they now massage it and bring open and closing inventory in? You'll be locked up. So if there's open inventory of hand sanitizer, just subtract it because now we won't produce it. I think the open inventory was thousand. I'll not produce this thousand. It's free going to. I have to leave, let's say 1,005. Okay. Then I'll add it because now I have to produce more. So I'll get to what 8,500. So I'll put 8,500. Good. But in this question, it's not like that. So I'm still doing it so that you get a picture from me. Then I'll be fine. There. Yeah, subtract. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. The next one will be that of the material usage. So now that we know that we have to produce 8,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, what are the materials that we have to mix? What are the materials that we have to use? That's the next step. Okay, so let's continue the game. Now from production budget, we have to move straight to material usage budget. So I'll prepare it step by step so that do not put everything in. Material usage. So now that I have to produce 8,000 units of the sanitizers, what will be the materials that I have to consume before I can be able to produce my target, my objective? Good. So basically, as the name suggests, this one is material. You have to go and look for the materials in the question. Please and please again, kindly try when they give you the question for functional budget, try to distinguish the product from the materials. For the person that will probably let you try for me, the names are familiar. They're in the same neighborhood. So in this question, the product is what? Hand sanitizer. The materials are material A, B, and C. Here we are lucky they are calling them material A, B, and C. In some rare case now, we'll give them their actual name. Actual name. So if hand sanitizer, we tell you that we need one. We need alcohol. We need ethanol. We need little perfume. All of them. So if care is not taken, you might mistakenly use them as the products. In actual fact, they are materials, not the products. So let's take them. But here it is a bit clear. He made it clear for this particular question here. There's no doubt about it. Clear. So take note. But some questions not like that. Good. So the materials are here. Material A, B, and C. Good. So I'll write the names of the material. So here material A, material B, finally material C. Because I am dealing with material usage, I have to start with materials. Good. If I am dealing with sales or production, I'll start with the units, the product itself. So production budget talks about the product itself, but the material usage talks about material. So let's take it. Then we ask ourselves, now, our production, we say we are going to produce 8,000 bottles of hand sanitizer. So the question is this. Here's a critical section. If you want to produce 1 unit of the hand sanitizer, how many units of material A you need to produce 1? They have to tell us that, oh, if I want to produce a bottle of Sobolo, oh, Maybe material A is the bottle. So material A represents the bottle. Material B is the leaves and then the spices, the leaves and spices. Material C is water. If you want to produce a unit of sobolo, how many bottles do you need? A bottle of sobolo, how many bottles do you need? Yes. If you want to produce a bottle of sobolo, how many bottles do you need? You need one. So that's one. Now, if you're going to produce 8,000, then that means you need 8,000 bottles. That's one. How many leaves do you need? Or the spices you have to put together in order to fill the 8,000 bottles. Then water to fill the 8,000 bottles. That is all about the material usage. The materials that you are going to use to produce. Budget them. So all what we have to do is this. We go to the question. The examiner have to inform us or tell us. Okay, so let's go. Some part of the question says that a bottle of hand sanitizer requires 4 units of material A. Wow. And 3 units of material B. Good. And 2 units of material C. That's also perfect. So it's 432. That's the formation. 432. Write them here. 432. Okay. Now, so I write hand sanitizer here. Open a bracket. Try the examiner that if I want to produce 1 unit of the sanitizer, I need 4 units of material A. But now we are producing 8,000. So how many units will I consume? So it means that we have to do a working of now this 4 by the 8,000. And that will give us 32 units. That is it. Then I'll go to the material B. Now they told me that I need 3 units. So 3 by what? 8,000. And that will give us 24,000. And put it under material B. And then again, do the last one for material C. They say 2. So 2 by 8,000. And that will give us 16,000. And this is it. Good. This one must come in there. Here. Then you put it there. So that is it. So this mark to this one mark to this also mark to this in that order. If the company produces not just hand sanitizer, they also produce other items. Maybe the same alcohol, they used to produce drink, like is it I don't call hand sanitizer, right? Good. So let's assume that they also produce other products aside the hand sanitizer. They can also produce, let's say, alcohol-based liquid soap. Yes, very simple alcohol. So liquid soap, you write it here, and now once you start the game, you open your bracket. What's the production unit? Then you can do the calculation. All the products will come here like this. Just that in this question, the products are only one. That is the main issue. So that is so when you're done, you sum all up. You know the total unit that you need. So putting all together is 32,000. Putting all together is 24,000. Putting all together is 16,000. So that is what we call material input. So this is the total materials that you need, or total units of the materials that you need to produce. So material usage. That is it. We are done with the material usage. Don't forget that in some questions, the product will be more than one. For the question that you're going to solve, the products are 3. That's the one I do pair. I'll do the illustration for you so that when you are solving it, you'll be fine. Okay. Then we are going to the Almighty, the main question. But all this you can just use just shortcut to do them. But for this particular question, because only one product. But for the three products, I will have to go through them systematic order. Now let's go to the main question. The question said that we should prepare material purchases. So now that we know that we need 32 units of material A before we can produce, and we also need 24 units of material B before we can produce, and 16,000 of material C before we can produce, then we should ask ourselves, should we go and buy all of them, or we have some there? If you do have some of the materials there, then it will influence the number that you go and buy. Because if you have some there, why can't you go and buy a small one and come and use it add up? Or if after the production you have to leave some of the materials, then it means you have to go and buy extra, more than what you need for the next consignment. So that is it. So now let's move on to the next one. Please